After navigating the Canadian Championship waters, TSS Rovers have now won 4-0 in back-to-back games. The Whitecaps have yet to lose but are stuck on one win. Whoever ends up victorious this afternoon will top the men's division. Whitecaps, Rovers, it's the League One BC featured match. Hello from Kenwood's Field on the UBC campus. I'm your match commentator, Peter Shad. This fixture last year was one of the best of the season, and as it turned out, a 2-0 win for the Rovers, a statement win for them as a couple of weeks later, they were in the League One men's division final. The Whitecaps would love to take maximum points here. They're coming off a swashbuckling 2-2 draw in midweek. Before we get to the team news, let's hear from the coaches.
So, Rich, today we're facing off against the Rovers, and you haven't lost that many games, but you also haven't won that many yet as well. What are you going to do to pull ahead with the tie?
Well, we need to score goals. We've created enough chances in all games to probably win each game 3 times over, so the difference today is busting the net.
Absolutely. And who do you expect to see the most in terms of making this happen?
You know what? We've got a really talented front three. We've got really good wide players that can put the ball in a dangerous situation. So there's probably not one player in particular. I would just expect it to be a team performance.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Rich.
No problem.
Excellent. So, Derek, today you are tied for first place. Your team's looking really good, but what are you going to do to pull ahead into first?
Well, hopefully we pull out a performance today. It's a big game. Obviously, we played 2 games at the start where we weren't really at it. Last 2 games we've been good, so this will sort of start to tell a little bit more of what the season will look like, hopefully. Yeah.
And if you had to guess, who do you think is going to be the star today?
For my team, let's say Eric Edwardson.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Derek. I'll let you get back to your team.
Rich Fagan with one change from the thrilling 2-2 draw at Harborside midweek. Koji Poon picked up an injury in that match with Amir Gassemi filling in one of those 2 number 10s playing in behind Michael Hennessy. And 2 changes for Darren Rusher from last week's 4-0 win over Unity. Zar Jampour comes in from Nico Papakiriakopoulos, while Gabe Escobar will play wide left in for the injured Masoud Habibullah. As we welcome you to Kenwood's Field on a glorious day, 23 and warm, very nice, slight breeze, and it will be TSS Rovers to kick off. Nico Jakanski is the man in the middle, the far side referee. The first assistant from your viewpoint is Rodrigo Zadarneski. On the near side, it's AR2 Garrett Coombs. Michael Cacho is the 4th official. And Rovers will play in their away black strip. It's the Whitecaps in their classic and traditional whites with the blue stripe across the chest. And we're set to go in what is a repeat, hopefully, of what was one of the best games of the season here last year. Very interesting storylines at that time. Can Rovers replicate and stay atop the table? If the Whitecaps win, they will top the men's division at the end of the day, depending on what happens between the Highlanders and Unity. Slight delay here as we await kickoff. And you do wonder whether there will be a hydration break at some point today, just because it has warmed up. The pitch is dry and hot. Let's see if that affects the game at all. Both teams would love to play quickly, play with the ball on the floor, and the man standing off the ball ready to go, Ivan Mejia, who actually scored the opening goal in this game last year, and it was early. Followed up by Eric Edwardson, who's standing just at the bottom of your picture wearing number 11. So many players have worn both of these jerseys, quite frankly. A lot of ex-Whitecaps in the Rovers squad. That might help add to the meaning of it. And the Swan Guardians are here in full force. They were here supporting the women's team in what was also a very enthralling encounter. I don't want to tell you the score because you can watch it back on our YouTube channel, League One BC. But it was a dandy of a game and perhaps a little bit of a surprise update. And right away, near side assistant put his flag up, but no foul, and away they go with Mejia. Looking for Edwardson. Edwardson beaten to it neatly. Whitecaps get it as far as midfield, but Rovers starting with some intent here, and that's a good little touch back from Mejia. And first touches around the back from Tyler Dillon, who has connections to this club, of course. Danilo Smichenko is the other center back, the Ukrainian, and that's a bit of a giveaway that I'm sure that Darren Rusher won't be happy with. And it's a break forward for the Whitecaps with Gassemi, the substitute, battling away, and he'll be called for the foul here. But good pressure up front by the young Whitecaps. It was an unbelievable game, actually, on Wednesday in Nanaimo. It finished 2-2, but a couple of really cracking goals. As a first touch for Ben Alexander, high and into midfield, but that's going to be easily taken away by Ali Zohar, who operates as a 6 in front of the back four. Whitecaps took the lead from a corner on Wednesday. Nicholas White with an absolute bullet header. He's the one putting his hand up in the air right now, playing at center back. And then Harborside scored 2 goals, including a simply phenomenal strike from a free kick. And the Whitecaps through Chris Album came back from a corner with a bicycle kick, and it was honors even, but just absolute chaos near the end. Anybody could have won that game. And in speaking to Rich Fagan, he would have been rather annoyed had they chucked that point away, but they could have very easily have taken all 3 points. Justin Sandu into midfield, just a little too tall for Eric Edwardson. Nikos Clark-Tozak is playing in the back 3 on the left-hand side. A good win, but appeals for handball off Tyler Dillon. No call. Edwardson looking for some support. Mejia with a little touchback, but that's cleaned up. And now let's see if Hennessy can get going. The hat-trick hero against Altitude here a couple of rounds ago. Smichenko looking long for Edwardson. It's a good first touch. And the first 1v1 battle between those two. Top of the area, Polisi wearing the armband. Fukawa. Nice little layoff with Escobar, who's playing more advanced. Fukawa carries on with a good left-footed effort across, but that was cut out. Good attacking, proper defending, and we have our first corner of the match here in the early stages. Polisi will head over to take this. The hero of what was a monumental and never, ever forgotten night, April the 19th, 2023, the day that TSS Rovers became the first League One Canada team to upset a Canadian Premier League team. It's high, it's deep, it's headed back across into the danger area, and then away from Clark-Tozak. Danger not over. White with a good clearance, and into midfield it goes from Gassemi. Rovers retrieve. Polisi. Driven ball left-footed. Half cleared. Mejia called for the foul. Now, the Rovers had to navigate the Canadian Championship, obviously, and really gave a good account of themselves, both at home to Valor at Swangard and then away at Pacific in the quarterfinal round. But that did take a little bit of a toll on the League One start, which featured 2 draws and a loss to, or a draw and a loss to the Highlanders, as they really had to rotate their squad. They didn't get the younger players into the team, as they were looking at overagers for that Canadian Championship quest. Nice little turn. Norman. Luke Norman does well to get it back to the skipper, who is Brennan First, the Calgarian, the 18-year-old. A nice little cut by Dalen Velios, who's on the right side of those three. And that's a decent through ball, and it's perhaps a break on. And an early chance, and it's a big save from Sandu. Justin Sandu to the rescue in the early moments here after a great through ball. Split the entire Rovers back line apart. What a chance. We may look back on that in the early stages. That certainly would have been a blow for the Rovers as the Whitecaps take possession again through White, who is a new Westminster boy and a Harvard graduate, 4 years, 2020 to 2024, as that ball just did not switch the way Mejia wanted, and Ben Alexander will just calm things down. Velios. And on the right side, Yaya Mutombo. It'll be nice to watch those two as the Whitecaps play with a 3-4-3. It's 3-4 in midfield, 2 10s, and then the striker. And although that is similar to what the first team plays in Major League Soccer, Rich Fagan assured me that all the teams do have the flexibility to sort of adjust and tinker a little bit within the structure. And so he does have the freedom to play around a little bit. And it's working well. A lot of these players flirting with Whitecaps FC2 duty, which is what they want. It's neat and tidy right now from the Whitecaps. There are a couple of KG veterans in this squad. And one of the ones that Rich Fagan would love to have in his squad, in fact, he spoke very glowingly of the Rovers' Kyle Jones, who had been associated with this program. And that's a nice ball into the channel. And Gosemi just couldn't keep hold of that. It's back to Sandu, whose dad Dieter was also a goalkeeper and well known in these parts. You heard the down Nick shouts. Well, he got the header down, but Mejia gets the ball. Zohar, Edwardson, Mejia again, looking for Polisi, but he was closed off. Ali Zohar tackled, but maintains possession, and back it goes to Smichenko, the 24-year-old Ukrainian. Dylan, who was a member of the altitude team last year, that had a tough start and finished strong, and it's an early and aware throw-in, looking for forward play and perhaps a chance there. And again, Luke Norman closing down quickly, but a good and perhaps a bit lucky touch from Sandu there, as we have a look back at that save he made just a couple of moments ago. 8 minutes in and scoreless from Ken Woods Field on the campus of UBC. Our featured match presented by Hall on Telus Optic TV and on YouTube. Early ball deep and a little too strong, and that'll be a goal kick. Ben Alexander, the 19-year-old goalkeeper from Surrey, has had to wait his turn a little bit, but he too has been flirting with action in WFC2. MLS Next Pro. White, who scored the opening goal in midweek at Harborside. Long ball towards Norman. Edwardson. And Shea Zarjanpour. Well, Sandu was the penalty hero last season in the League One Men's Division Final, making the critical final save that gave TSS Rovers not just the title, but also the ticket to the Canadian Championship, which they acquitted themselves so nicely in this last year, and they want to do it again. Whitecaps just sitting off that little bit, allowing Kyle Jones to wriggle free and turn into midfield for Polisi. Then a driven ball forward, but that was nowhere near Eric Edwardson. Good duel just around midfield. Jones And the Rovers very effectively retrieve and will recoil from the back. Tyler Dillon, 22, a Semi-Amu grad. One of the players that sort of approached the Rovers in November already and said, hey, listen, is there a spot for me? I'd like to be part of this Canadian Championship journey. And the team was very deep already in November, as of course they had to prepare for the eventuality of Canadian Championship football. But both he and Nico Papakyriakopoulos made that team and have acquitted themselves very well, although the guy they call Papa on the bench right now, as Mejia, will spread it nicely. Jarjanpour, decent ball in. Away from first, into midfield. Hennessy just couldn't keep possession. He's been 1v3 often in the middle of the park. Michael Hennessy, the 18-year-old who comes out of Mountain United, but already has one hat trick to his name this year, and that ball is straight off and out, left-footed cross. Into the 11th minute. And that's poor as the Whitecaps give it away cheaply. Jones will send it straight back in again. I'm not sure if that was a shot or a hopeful cross, neither nor. And maybe a chance for the Whitecaps to just take a little bit of a beat. The club that is managed by Rich Fagan, who has been with the club for an awfully long time, really enjoys this level, wishes the season was longer because that's what development is all about. Meaningful games week in and week out, and we saw just how effective the Whitecaps were at times last year. And one of their own, Eric Lajeunesse, on the Pacific FC roster, but he'll actually get a little bit of action with Notsamot this weekend in their affiliation agreement. But Lajeunesse was playing in that position you see right there, and then made the jump to Pacific this past year. Into midfield it goes. Good turn and good retention of the ball. Nice ball down the line and a good first touch as well. And that's a nice cut infield. Top of the area. A long effort driven and it just drifted wide. Not a bad idea by Amir Gassemi. It was a statement win. And in the end it turned out to be, and that's a little bit too close. And ironically, last year in this fixture, Coach Will Cromack was off to Scotland to finish his UEFA licensing. So Darren Rusher was in charge of the team. He said that was a very disjointed and uncomfortable week in the lead up to the game, which they knew was going to be huge. Had the Whitecaps won it, they might have been in position to reach the final. As it was, though, 2 first-half goals and a really solid and committed display by both teams, frankly, lifted the Rovers to victory. Good ball back to Ben Alexander. Velios. Alexander, and that's well done. And now, can this ball stay on the park? It will. And it's a good run by Luke Norman, who plays it infield. And it's nicely played across. This is a big chance. It's 1-0. Terrific move that started at the goalkeeper at one end, all the way up the park, and then slotted home beautifully by Michael Hennessy, who latched on, made his run late. And in minute number 14, it's the home side that takes the all-important lead. Well, let's start with the ball played by Ben Alexander, which was inch perfect. The touch on the near side was sublime. And then Michael Hennessy just popped up at the back post after the ball across by Amir Gassemi. And it is 1-0 to the Whitecaps. Lovely touch. And look, he just pops up and he slots it. That is ice-cold finishing from Hennessy. And the Burnaby boy has the Whitecaps in front. Great start. And it makes for a tasty affair, because I do not think that the Rovers will just sit back and accept that fate. They will push and they will probe. And for the neutral, it's a great start. These are a critical 5 minutes now for the Whitecaps. Velios with the throw. No foul there, as it looked like that might have been impeded. White stepping up. Big collision in midfield between Zohar and Norman, but back it goes to Jaden Mineta, who made that terrific touch down this near side touch, or was it, beg your pardon, Luke Norman, as it now pops out wide again. Gassemi, who set up the goal. First, driven ball, and just over the head of Hennessy again. And I think Smichenko was rather fortunate there because he couldn't get to it, and, well, Hennessy was in behind looking for a second, and suddenly the Rovers a little bit stunned at the moment, and they need to get their composure back. As mentioned, after scoring, these are vulnerable moments for the home side, and they have to be fully switched on at the moment, while the Rovers, the danger is you try too hard to get back on level terms and you might leave yourself exposed, as Kyle Jones plays in Sagawa, I beg your pardon, the 25-year-old from Ichikawa. Sagawa from Ichikawa, as it's over the top. Good chest down by Mineta. Velios unchallenged, so he'll go infield to first. And now the Whitecaps can do what they do quite well, is just keep possession, be tidy, and not give the ball away cheaply, which they did there. Good hold-up play by Gassemi, who has shown very well winning a free kick. No rush here for the home side, as Nicholas White indicates maybe one of his teammates should go a little higher up the touchline, and it's Mineta who will take it on here. One of the overagers at 21, Jaden Mineta, and he'll get the ball back again. Won, though, nicely by Zarjanpour, but straight into touch. Good battle. Won by first. I've got to say, Hennessy, despite scoring that goal, back-to-goal play has been excellent to start. And he's retrieved it a couple times, as the Whitecaps have here again. But he's really in the thick of it. He's 1v2 often against two pretty solid customers in Smichenko and Tyler Dillon. But he's done well playing back-to-goal. And then he rotates a little bit. You could see with Amir Gassemi. Luke Norman's not a small lad either. And by the way, that was the third good chance that the Whitecaps conjured up. They had a very good chance that Justin Sandu denied. The Richmond man, who I think played every sport under the sun. Mum from England, dad well known in these parts, but Dieter was into hockey, volleyball, basketball, pretty much most of it. Justin was. Smichenko looking for a target. Zarjanpour into midfield. Eric Edwardson kept it alive, and here comes the always very busy Mejia as he plays it beautifully in for Edwardson, but won back nicely by Jovan Mann, who just snuck in and pinched the ball away. Rovers win a throw. 20 minutes in, Whitecaps 1, Rovers 0, League One BC featured match here on TELUS Optic TV and on our League One BC YouTube channel. And the League One BC featured match is presented by the Hall Group of Companies. Together we support League One as a chance for Luke Norman. It's a long effort by Jovan Mann, but over the top. The Hall Group of Companies supports League One's BC's three pillars: community, opportunity, and standards. Zarjanpour and Dillon. Well, the disappointment of losing to Pacific wore off pretty quickly as the Rovers very comfortably dispatched Unity. I think even Darren Rusher was a little bit surprised by the ease of that victory. And that's good play coming out of the back as Mrs. Mikchenko now finds Sagawa. Gabe Escobar a little farther up the field, but not really involved so much yet in this game. Now the break is on. Sagawa, nice cutback and just a little bit behind Mejia. Edwardson onside, left-footed effort, just drifts it wide. That's the best move from the Rovers so far, and it comes as we near the halfway stage of the first half. But Edwardson with a little bit of room just to shuffle and shift to his left foot, but that was wide of the far upright. Another chance for Ben Alexander to sort of just calm things down a little bit and manage the game. Nikos Clark-Tozak picking a very strategic time to tie his bootlace. The man in the middle, Nico Jakanski, asking to speed things up a little bit here. Mejia. Smichenko. Polisi dropping right off in support. What must that have been like, having the game of his life against his brother's team from Valor in Winnipeg? It was such a comfortable victory with the greatest of respect to the opponents, but TSS just were so lethal when they did get their chances, and it really could have been 4 when you consider the saved penalty. A memorable run, but now they have to focus on League One to try to get back to that dance, the Canadian Championships, and they'll win a throw-in at midfield. As Sagawa picks himself up. Now, Darren Rusher is a hardcore Tottenham Hotspur fan, getting promoted to the big job this year from Will Cromack, and his counterpart in the opposite technical area, well, he was born in Glasgow, so the next question is which side of Glasgow did he support? But his father was a huge Celtic fan, and he's also a fan of the Celtic, the boys. You see Polisi is just roaming all over the park right now, I think trying to just unsettle the Whitecaps a little bit and what their defending assignments are, overloading here and there. Sagawa, nice little move infield and does well to retain possession. The referee plays a good advantage. Here's Polisi. He's got Mejia wide right. Instead he goes wide left as Edwardson has switched sides with Polisi, and now we're going to see a yellow card here as the captain, Brennan First, is booked retroactively in minute number 24. And I think that's the right decision. A good advantage by Nico Jakanski, and then to come back and book the Whitecaps skipper. And it was a lovely burst by Fugo Sagawa, who has such great technical ability, who grew up in Ichikawa playing for his hometown team, Fute. He moved to London afterwards and attended a place called the Fab Academy, which has produced a number of players. A little bit of time in Sweden as well for the 25-year-old from Japan, and spent 2020, or at least parts of it, with York 9, as it was known then. Dylan. Zarjanpur. And too far ahead for Mejia. Mejia is moving around quite a bit as well. Good rotation by the Rovers as they try just to do a little something different here. Mineta's throw over the head of an intended target, and I think some of the Whitecaps players thought that might have been a shove in the back. Danilo Smichenko for Dylan. Polisi drops back again. That pushes Sagawa higher up the park. So Polisi is just roaming everywhere right now. Deep. Good win by Clark Tozak. It was an excellent crowd for the women's division game prior to this, and it looks like the support is returning here, but a very boisterous first game in our League One BC featured match doubleheader. Rovers will be featured again at home in our next outing as they host Altitude in the Ironworkers Memorial Derby. Escobar tried to turn the corner, picks out Edwardson. It's a good touch. It's back to Polisi. The shot was blocked. Danger not over. And it's blocked. There was calls for a foul as Edwardson went down hard, and the entire Rovers bench is hollering at the referee. And he waved it off immediately. Edwardson gets up. But at first glance, I'm not sure that was, well, whether it was in the box or not, and I'm not sure if that was a legitimate shout for a penalty. Let's see if we could see what happened. No, that's not a penalty for me, and the referee was much closer than I am. Hopeful appeals is what we'll put that down to. Incredible how deep Polisi's playing. He's lined up as the lone striker, but it's all changed around. Mejia is playing on the right-hand side. Edwardson is straight up top. Gabe Escobar on the left-hand side in that front three. And now Polisi is just roaming around almost as a number 6. And that's a giveaway. Nice touch from Norman. Mineta. First, who's on a yellow card and has to behave himself. And here's Edwardson now. Rovers are in tough, and they've got work to do. The Whitecaps have the bit between their teeth and the goal that separates these two. Mejia loves to cut in. Such a stocky build, but that time he couldn't get through, and now a chance for the Whitecaps to break. And this man, Amir Gassemi, has had a good first half as he changes gears in shooting position. It's a decent ball through, and I think it's off and out for a goal kick. Oh no, the referee's given a corner. And so in minute number 29, a set piece opportunity, and this is where the Whitecaps earn some pay dirt at Harborside. The first goal straight from a corner, a smashing header from Nicholas White, and then the equalizer from a Chris Albom bicycle kick. And Chris Albom, our thoughts with him as he's on bereavement leave for this game in Calgary. And let's see if the Whitecaps can conjure something in the 29th minute. Driven ball near post, easy away from Ali Zohar and helped on further. First will be the first man there. Belios did well to get around the corner on Escobar. Searching ball, over hit. Rovers players warming up off in the distance. We are just approaching the half-hour mark from Kenwood's Field. And the Rovers trailing by a 1-0, and a win would put the Whitecaps on top in the men's division, depending on what happens with the Highlanders, who have just gotten off to a fantastic start. They're hosting Unity. And Unity, after losing 4-0 to the Rovers away, went to Notsamot and won 5-0. And that's good defending again. In fact, Clark Tozak asking for a goal kick, but it will be a corner for the Rovers. Kyle Jones will be the man to deliver here, the 26-year-old from Coquitlam, who's been around the block a little bit. A spell with one of the old PDL and USL2 enemies, Calgary Foothills. The wind is pushing into Ben Alexander's goal. Can he get the shape right on this one? A left-footed in-swinging delivery. Driven ball, beautifully done and headed away at the near post. Danger not over entirely. And then away it goes into midfield. That was a lovely whipped-in service from Kyle Jones. And again, great work by Gacemi, who was doing the defensive duty there. Little through ball, cut out nicely by Clark Tozak. Mejia in the box to the byline. Good ball across. Oh, and Edwardson just missed at the edge of the 6. And I think Ben Alexander might have got a little touch to that one, but Eric Alexander that close to equalizing here on the half-hour mark, 31st minute. And he's annoyed with himself because I think Alexander actually got the touch that put it into the danger area, but Edwardson just couldn't poke it home to level this affair. Tyler Dillon back to his goalkeeper. Pressure from Norman. Hennessy was lurking as well. First. Ali Zohar calms things down and beautifully retains possession via his goalkeeper. Smichenko. Didn't like the angle, so Polisi's role has completely changed from kickoff. But he'll get it back here. Ganged up by 3 Whitecaps. Norman, little flick backwards. Jovan Mann couldn't get there. Danger not cleared yet for the Rovers, and the Whitecaps retrieve through first. Rich Fagan will be happy with the first 33 minutes for sure. Neat little touch. First, all shoulder there. Couldn't turn his man. Jones. Mejia. Now does he have room to run? And he will. Overlapping was Sarjanpour, but the ball was played over to the left-hand side. Polisi. Escobar. Zohar for Dillon, who takes up the space. Mejia thought about a first-time cross. Dancing to the edge of the box, to the byline it goes, but over the byline. The danger and the threat certainly has come from Ivan Mejia on this near side. And you just feel like the longer this game goes, the more unlikely it is that the guy who can score for fun in this league, in fact 2 against Unity, will be kept scoreless somehow. Same as Eric Edwardson. No Masoud Habibullah, as he was injured in a midweek friendly against Vancouver FC. He really wanted to play in this game, but that's led to the rejig up front a little bit, starting with Polisi, but now it looks like it's flat out Eric Edwardson playing as the 9 and Mejia on the right, with Polisi just sort of drifting around in midfield, where for the moment it felt like the Rovers were overloaded a little bit. And the Whitecaps with the 3-4-3 were having some joy in that area. Smichenko into midfield. Edwardson, flag goes up. Well, this is very interesting. You've got literally a men versus boys situation, and I think that's one of the things that makes this league so special, is the fact that you can see 17, 18, and 19-year-olds competing with and against men, and that's really where the growth happens. I mentioned earlier how much Rich Fagan wishes this season was longer. Sarjanpour looking for a target. Mejia shows good soft feet. And the Whitecaps pressing a little bit more now. Kyle Jones won the duel. Eric Edwardson. Nicely for Mejia. He is so tidy on the ball. He has such strength and power in the acceleration, and he does keep the play alive momentarily, but I think I jinxed him there just for a moment. But he just does have such a strong lower body. Just have to think that he's going to conjure something up. Good duel, little header in. Zohar pinches. Sagawa. Zarjanpur will get this one and then immediately get closed down by Mineta, but oh, well done by the 19-year-old from Richmond, Shaya Zarjanpur. Now, Escobar looking for Edwardson, double hit, and that'll be a corner for the Rovers. 10 minutes until halftime, plus stoppage time. Beautiful day on the campus of the University of British Columbia, where it's always buzzing and where parking is always horrendous. But if you did manage to get a spot, you're lucky, and if you're watching, you don't have to worry about those kind of things. In this very traditional rivalry, even though it's 2 years old, there is bite between these two. It's drifted back post, headed down nicely by Smichenko. Jones. Left-footed ball back post, but that's over everybody's head. I asked Darren Rusher if he felt like his team looked at this fixture and said, this is one we circle on the calendar, this is one of the ones we have to have. He said, absolutely we have, and the Whitecaps the same way. There are so many alumni of the academy program in this Rovers team. It's almost like little brothers wanting to beat big brothers, and you know what those rivalries are like. Alexander towards Mineta and Luke Norman. Polisi, one back. Zarjanpur won it back, and was actually called for the foul was Amir Gassemi. Ali Zohar, the 22-year-old who was born in Bangladesh, came to Canada in 2009, played for Coastal FC. Big Real Madrid fan, so not the happiest of seasons for any Real fans. Good headed win there by Clark Tozak. Velios. I make that Yaya Matombo. Jones. Again, Whitecaps dropping off to the halfway line and saying, Rovers, you can have it, but you're going to have to try to get through this. And if you are, you might have to go over the top, which I think suits Nicholas White, frankly, the center back. Zarjanpur. Dillon. Rovers try to shift the home side from side to side. Sagawa. Zarjanpur is pushed way up this right touch line as the fullbacks now trying to overload on either side, and there's acres of space if the switch can come. It's a little bit more direct, and that's easy for Clark Tozak. Zohar intercepts, however. Mahia, too far for him, and it's a goal kick in minute number 39. Whitecaps 1, Rovers 0 on a Michael Hennessy goal that was very well crafted. From a goal kick, Ben Alexander drifting it up the near side touchline, one touch down into the left channel, and the ball was beautifully picked out. Hennessy popped up out of nowhere to slip it into the bottom corner, and that's the difference between these two. Medetta. Gassemi. And that forces an intervention from Tyler Dillon and gives the Whitecaps about 80 yards of field to work with. They've had joy down this near side touchline, and Jaden Mineta has won quite a fair share of those duels. Now can he serve something up from a long throw? Nicholas White thinks so. He's moved up from the back. A little flick backwards, away from Polisi, kept alive by First, and then Ali Zohar into midfield. Swan Guardians try to get their team going here as Edwardson does some hunting up front. Sagawa pinches in, but the Whitecaps take it back. And now can they break? That's great work again by Amir Gassemi, who's gone to ground trying to win the ball back. He couldn't on that occasion, but you see the work he's doing, and he has also shifted from side to side as Luke Norman has Zarjanpur in sights. Good win by Sagawa. Edwardson down, and he'll win a free kick and maybe a chance for the Rovers to get men forward, but they'll carry on quickly. And again, Zarjanpur in acres of space on the opposite side of the park, but the Rovers will attack straight down the middle. Little layoff from Polisi. Edwardson moves it on nicely. Sagawa. Clark Tozak away. Half cleared, straight into touch. Rovers throw. Inside the final 5 minutes of the first half, and if you're Rich Fagan, this is the time when you're going to ask your team to be razor sharp and switched on. These are vulnerable moments in games, the last 5 minutes. And the team that has the lead will want to take that lead to the halftime team talk. Zarjanpur, a little bit of room to operate, finds Polisi, nice turn. Polisi, can he pick out Escobar? Can't. Whitecaps win it back, and we're fouled. Well, in this fixture last year, at this point, it was already 2-0 for the Rovers. And hard to say they cruised to victory, but it certainly was a tough task for the Whitecaps, who had to chase, and try to win possession back. And they weren't able to. Sagawa kept it alive. Smichenko. And again, Amar Gassemi committed in the tackle. He does draw the foul on that occasion, but you just have to love the work rate he's putting in his position. Zarjanpur. Nice give and go. Escobar with a burst of pace. Can Gabriel Escobar pick out a target now? Left-footed ball ripped across, but no challenge for Mineta. Only as far as Zohar. Polisi. Mejia. And he just left that pass a little bit short. 90 seconds from the first 45. Into midfield it goes. Sagawa. And again, Clark Tozak, first to it, into midfield. Tyler Dillon. Mejia. Polisi. Zarjanpur, and he just could not pick out Eric Edwardson, but the Whitecaps giving up possession, and the Rovers keeping the ball for the moment. Appeals for handball not given. Little pull on the arm there, but Mutombo kept possession. Now, do the Whitecaps have the gumption to go get a second? They'll win a free kick. Good run by Jovan Mann. And it looks like Mann will be the one to preside over this with 30 seconds plus stoppage time to go. And we'll just wait and see what Michael Cacho holds up on that far side. But 4 Whitecaps conjuring and scheming over this. A second goal would be a real sucker punch at this stage of the half. 1 added minute at the end of these 45, and we're into that 1 added minute now. Jovan Mann standing off the ball. Clips it forward. It's a decent ball through, and Sandhu comes off his line and claims it and then gets things moving quickly. Jones. Zohar. He's got lots of room to take up here, and he will take it up. Zarjanpour again, lots of room on the right-hand side. Can the Whitecaps muster something up in the late stages? The goal scorer, Hennessy. Velios back. And once again for Dylan Velios, the Whitecaps in no rush nor no urgency to get forward. They certainly don't want to turn the ball over there, which they did. Winning it back, that's good work. And the referee blows for halftime just as the Whitecaps were breaking, but it was an intriguing tussle through 45 minutes as the Whitecaps did get that opening goal through Michael Hennessy, a lovely build-up that he slotted home. And as we go to the break, it's the Whitecaps 1, TSS Rovers 0. Lots coming up in our halftime show, and we'll try to get one of the main participants in this first 45 minutes. We'll get to that in just a moment. You're watching League One BC's featured match on TELUS Optic TV and YouTube.
Can you hear me?
Returning back to Kenwood's Field, Maddie Buckingham standing by with the first half hero.
Good to go. Okay. I'm here with the goal scorer, Michael Hennessy. It's a pretty exciting start to the game for you. I know that you're drought scoring, even though you're the leader on your team. How did you push through that today, and where's the pressure coming from?
I was just taking our chances, all the chances in front of net. We got to finish, and yeah, we've been creating lots, so we just need to put back in the net.
Absolutely. And who are you most impressed with right now?
Our backline solid right now. They're winning every 50-50, so yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Michael. Go back to your team.
There he is, the goal scorer, and it was a terrific finish after a wonderful move through 45 minutes. We are at halftime at Kenwood's Field. The second half kickoff coming up after some halftime features. The score through 45 minutes. Whitecaps 1, TSS Rovers 0. You're watching the League One BC featured match.
One BC was built to provide opportunity for everyone involved with the game in our province. The Hall Group proudly supports its own workforce while offering training and opportunity for new recruits to its multiple divisions. A partnership that provides people with the tools they need, both on the field of play and in the field. Hall, together we rise as one.
You know, Canada's always had participation on the women's side, participation on the men's side, but at some point you have to turn that into a pathway.
The amount of times I get emails or phone calls from young soccer players asking, how do I make it? How do I do this? There's so many different pathways that players can take. 90% of those pathways are to leave our country, and that's what we have to change.
Canada soccer is a very interesting setup. When you think of top soccer countries, you're not usually thinking of Canada.
Everybody looked at it and said, we need a league.
League One BC is a critical new level of play that supports soccer's infrastructure in the province. The Hall Group was built on infrastructure projects in British Columbia. This premier partnership between two built-in BC groups promotes the highest standards for people and their growth, while building communities in our province both on the field and in the field. Hall, together we rise as one.
Or like, am I doing enough? Am I gonna achieve anything? Like, I didn't see anybody like me. So it was obviously really tough. It's just like, am I there for nothing? Am I doing this all for nothing? Like, there's nobody, I had nobody to like look up to.
And me, after I finished a game, I just look in the stands and sometimes I'd have family, sometimes I wouldn't, and then it'd be like kind of like a little, you sit in the change room and you give yourself like a little self vibe.
Programs haven't been accessible, nor have they been created that are culturally safe for Indigenous children and youth. So we wanted to close that gap.
Not-Smart FC is owned by Hope and Health and aims to get young Indigenous athletes into a higher level of sport.
Hope and Health is a sport for social impact organization that works specifically with Indigenous children and youth and their communities. We really have been working on creating the pathway from those young, talented athletes that aspire to go pro or play to an elite level as high as they can go. It's about creating a program that's accessible within Indigenous communities.
Sometimes all you just need is that one, or even that one person that believes in you. And I'm hoping this platform of Notsuma, and even me just being here, will show other Indigenous youth and other players that you can do it. You just dedication, hard work, and lots of just faith, and just reaching out to, like, putting yourself out there, and not being afraid of like the racial barriers or like people doubting you that you can't do it.
It created an identity for us. With varsity, it was about UBC athletes preparing for the fall season for Canada West, and when Notsuma came in, there was a bigger picture, a bigger focus, and we're living it every day with our identity, with trying to increase the Indigenous pathway and open up a big door for players to come through.
You know, it's not just the players too. Like, I've got an assistant coach, There's some game op stuff, so it does go beyond the players.
Oh, what a finish! All right.
For Not-Smart FC players, it's important for them to give back and mentor the next generation.
I think it's a win-win for everyone, for our UBC athletes to get into communities that may not even be thinking about university, and they get to see student athletes firsthand. I think that's a positive to show that there's a pathway not only for sport but into post-secondary as well.
When they think of soccer, they don't think of us, and obviously that's very hard because growing up, that was my FIFA. Going to tournaments, watching it, it was my FIFA. Like, that was my World Cups. Watching them play, it was like other players I couldn't see in TV.
As an Indigenous youth, like we're representing our community, not just ourselves. Like it takes a village to raise a child. Like for me as an example, I had uncles, aunties, coaches, a plethora of people that like help support me, and it really shows like growth and development. And you're just there to represent your people to the best of your abilities and just make whoever proud and yourself proud, more importantly, and then just walk in a good way.
Not-Smart FC is in their first season of competition with 11 Indigenous athletes across the men's and women's teams, as well as several Indigenous coaches and members of the backroom staff.
Like that's it, this is a big moment just to like prove Indigenous players have capabilities and opportunities to show talent, because there's a lot that fall through the cracks that just don't get that opportunity.
I already know what this is gonna bring, and I'm so excited. Like I can't even express the emotions.
Okay, everybody, let's have a great show. Look out, Karen Masson. Got it.
There from full pickup, who will pass it there to Jesse King, who scores again!
At West Shore Motorsports Park.
Crossing the box for Parmar, and she's done it! The opening goal!
Just about set to kick off for the second half here on our featured match, League One BC, and a reminder that we'll be at Swangard Stadium for our next outing on Sunday the 11th of June as the men and the women of the Rovers, who you see here today, are hosting Altitude. They call it the Ironworkers Memorial Derby. Michael Hennessy, the goal scorer in the first 10 minutes. And it looks like the Rovers have made one change. That's Nicholas Burrett, the German, has come on. And I'm just waiting to see who he's swapping. The board will go up here in just a moment. Well, that's actually, looks like two changes. Gabe Escobar is coming off. And Shea Zarjanpour is coming off. So it's Zarjanpour and Escobar off. Burrett on. I'm just waiting to see who the other sub was for. And I wonder if it's Nikos Papakyriakopoulos that is coming on for Escobar. We'll have a look here in just a second as we're set to go in the second half kickoff. Peter Schad here at Ken Woods Field, and a big 45 minutes for both of these teams. And we're keeping an eye on what's happening at Centennial Stadium in Victoria, where the Highlanders are hosting Unity. And depending on what happens there, the winner of this game could go top of the table by the end of today. I know I've waxed on quite a bit about the Highlanders, but they have been so good this year and certainly would be a candidate at this stage for top spot as Burrett gets his first touches. The 24-year-old played for Mainz youth team. In fact, they won a regional Liga championship in Germany. So I think it was Tyler Dillon, perhaps, who was either swapped out or relocated here. A little back heel. It's Connor McMillan who came on. That's the second sub. So Connor McMillan now on, wearing number 7. And so that's a very attack-minded change there. Appeals for foul throw right below us as the Whitecaps carry on. Clark Tozak, who had a very good first half. Now the referee's going to have to come over and sort this out. And a yellow card rather needlessly taken there as Jaden Mineta goes into the book. So keep that in mind. Mineta on a yellow card along with teammate and captain Brennan First. It looks like Tyler Dillon is now playing on that right side, and that's what's happened here is the Rovers push for a goal. So Dillon moves up on the right-hand side where Shea Zarjanpour was playing. And the space that he vacates belongs to Nicholas Burrett now. And Connor McMillan playing on the left-hand side in place of Gabe Escobar. So those are the changes as we're just underway here in the second half. It's a low ball to Mejia. Back across the top of the area, easily cleared. Sandu has all the time in the world to pick out Sagawa. He'll switch play. And too much so. And that was a bit of an unforced error there that gives the Whitecaps a gift set piece opportunity from the corner. They had one of those in the first half, weren't able to cash in, but Rich Fagan says they dedicate at least 25% per week to set pieces, and it certainly paid off at Harborside. Can it pay off now? A goal here would be a real uppercut to the jaw in minute number 49. It's high, it's deep, it's back across and touched aside but kept out by Sandu. Sandu claims that he was being impeded as he tried to release, and they're looking over at the near side assistant, Garrett Coombs. No reaction from the officials. Polisi. Dillon. Jones. Mejia. Again with those tight turns. Tidy little pass into Sagawa. Yaya Mutombo, the 17-year-old, will leave it for his fullback partner. Polisi looking for Edwardson, who has to duck to accept that one over the top. Dillon's overlapping. It's a deep cross, and no problems for Ben Alexander there. Clark Tozak into midfield. Little push in the back and a free kick for Hennessy. 4 goals in this League One BC campaign for Hennessy. Will today's be decisive and earn his side 3 very valuable points? Clark Tozak, the Edmonton lad, plays it forward. Whitecaps keep possession. Oh, and that was an unfortunate pass that leads to a counter, perhaps the other way. Polisi in full flight. Edwardson, nice reverse ball. Back post and over and out for a corner. Connor McMillan, the intended target there, the 29-year-old. Polisi and Mejia conjuring over this corner opportunity in the 51st minute. And it'll be Polisi with a right-footed in-swinger. Alexander uncontested. That was so easy for the Whitecaps goalkeeper. And again, he can just settle things down a little bit, kill some of the momentum. Clark Tozak wide. First. Man. Velios. And White. And the Whitecaps will do this as much as they can. Invite the pressure, play around it, and maybe when the break comes, look for that ball over the top. That time it was too long for Hennessy. Again, the long ball, that's easy for Nicholas White. As the Rovers just trying to get forward a little bit more urgently here with Dillon. Smichenko. Another long ball, but a lot of heads dropping a little bit there, as that was a waste from the Rovers center back. And again, no urgency from the Whitecaps here whatsoever. Not much movement on Rich Fagan's bench either at the moment as he looks on. Jones. Mejia. Ivan Mejia. McMillan. Nice little ball back to Mejia. He clips it back post. Is anybody there? No, just a Whitecap for the moment. Danger not over. Jones gets it flat for Zohar. Ali Zohar for Tyler Dillon. Edwardson. Zohar beaten to it, and now can the Whitecaps break? They can't. Zohar got an absolutely critical touch to that ball. Burrett. Mejia. And Dillon again is now slotted in on the right side, whether that's a 3 or a 4, I think just depends on the moment. But wide it goes one more time, and Edwardson tries to stand it up. Velios with the clearance. Danger not over. Mejia wrestling away, but the Whitecaps come back with it, and that's good work. And Mutombo now cutting infield. Does very well. Can he find a target? He can. And the Whitecaps work that out very well. Can they break? Mutombo. Can he get into shooting range here? And has he done too much? Zohar coming in to tidy up. And that's one thing that Rich Fagan talked about in our meeting yesterday, is knowing when to do the flicks and tricks and when to retain the ball. As McMillan breaking down into the penalty area onto his right foot. McMillan shaping up, looking for a target. It's back to Zohar. That's blocked. Handball appeals. Referee was not 2 yards away and waves it off immediately. And the danger not over yet for the Whitecaps as Edwardson has it back. And that was a misguided pass. It's into midfield. Good climb by Dillon. Zohar on that right-hand side. Rovers looking threatening at the moment. Sagawa. He's going to go from distance. Took a deflection, and Ben Alexander scrambling across, but the deflection came off a Rover last. And it's a goal kick, and credit to Nico Jakanski. He was standing right in line with it. You could hear the deflection from our standpoint, and immediately pointed to the 6-yard box. And that's a late challenge by Tyler Dillon, who absolutely cleaned out his opponent. That'll be a booking, and the referee wants some treatment, but neither of the two players came out well in that one. But Tyler Dillon's going into the book, and he's the first Rover to do so here in minute number 56. But he was late there. There's no question about that decision. Jaden Mineta has not been afraid to get into the wars either in this game. The 21-year-old, he has had a number of duels, but that one was hefty. And he had already released the ball after getting cleaned out. So he's taking that little extra second here as the players have some drinks. No hydration break here today, but pretty close to it, as we're now in minute number 57. Mineta looks to be okay. Dillon is back on his feet. Some warm-up activity over to our right in the corner with some of the Whitecaps just going through their paces. And it is the Caps who will get us back underway here with Clark Tozak. Did play a little bit with Lugano FC in Switzerland, but his youth club was the Edmonton Warriors. And he has been involved in a lot in this game, and he's got a big handful in Eric Edwardson on his side. That's a duel to watch as this game carries on. Luke Norman just couldn't get on the end of that. The Rovers pick it up, and now it's Sagawa. Smichenko, Burrett, and Norman just shielding him off. And again, the Whitecaps happy to have the ball in those positions and forcing the Rovers to either go backwards or over the top, where they've been actually pretty good in winning those duels, like in this situation here, where White can just step up and win it cleanly. Dillon with another duel. He won that one. Edwardson on the ball, looking for Polisi. Polisi goes for the long switch. Mejia trying to get onto this, but it's Ben Alexander's ball all the way. And he'll get his teammates going forward again. Jovan Mann has had a quietly effective game as well, a Surrey United grad. Scored the 1-1 goal against Rivers in the 63rd minute earlier this season, one of the many draws that the Whitecaps have earned in this League One BC campaign. Just one win, and that was against Altitude. They'd like to add to that here and maybe top the table by the end of today. Good run by Edwardson. Left-footed drive blocked away. Well, that was a good break. Looks like a substitution is imminent The Rovers going to bring on reinforcements while Kyle Jones gets set to deliver this corner. Minute 59, just nearing the hour mark. Whitecaps 1, Rovers 0. Left-footed in-swinger here from Jones. It's high, it's deep, it's back post. Oh, and it was in a good spot for Nicholas Burrett, but he stooped down and just could not make a connection. And now the Rovers will make the substitution, and it's going to be Tyler Dillon, who was just booked, and he will make way for Taylor Richardson. Well, let's see if that's a straight swap. So Taylor Richardson, the 25-year-old from Langley, will come on, and he's going to head straight up front here by the looks of it, and perhaps drop Connor McMillan into midfield. So they have another target to aim at. That's a decent pair of targets up front with Richardson and Eric Edwardson. Gassemi just lost the handle. And the Whitecaps win it back again. Man came in, but he couldn't keep possession. Polisi. Edwardson spreads things out. Sagawa. Zohar. Nice touch, Sagawa. Edge of the box looking for Richardson. Not there, and away it goes. And now can Luke Norman come over and keep this in? He just could not. But he's done no shortage of running. The Whitecap forward, the 19-year-old from Vancouver, came out of the Fusion program. And Fugo Sagawa with the throw. Richardson's showing, but it's Polisi. Caught nicely. The Whitecaps win it back through Norman. Hennessy. Oh, that's nicely done by Hennessy. Can he pick out a target? It's a beautiful ball. And here's a chance for Yaya Mutombo. Edge of the box to his right foot. Mutombo. And he drills it wide short side. And he just hooked it. And he had some reinforcements coming into the penalty area. But that was a break that the Whitecaps would have loved to have cashed in on. They haven't had a whole lot here in the second half. But there was certainly an opportunity. And the Rovers perhaps a little bit fortunate. Now the Whitecaps getting set to make some changes and get some fresh legs on. Big 30 minutes ahead. We're 2/3 of the way through. And again, if there is a winner in this game, depending what's happening in Victoria, could be topping the table. Yeah, good talk by the assistant referee who saw that one all the way, but it's the Rovers who come away with it through Jones. Pokes it through, a little touch from Richardson, but that was well read by Velios. And then another shoulder barge. Whitecaps coming away again, and just couldn't latch on to Gassemi, who has run hard all day. And it's a double swap imminent here for the Whitecaps, probably on the next stoppage. Burrett, Smichenko, and Burrett again. Sagawa. Watched closely by Yaya Mutombo. The idea was good, but Mejia just couldn't get there. And now let's see if they'll let the Whitecaps make the substitutions. I don't think they will, so Velios will keep us going here. To the corner, a little flick, and around the corner goes Gassemi. Can he get there? And it's a free kick against the attacking player. Rovers carry on. A little bit more urgency now from the visitors in black. Richardson, nice flick backwards. McMillan got the shout from Mejia. He had to wait for it. Richardson wants it back. Mejia going infield, and that's cut out by Velios. Man. And then Clark Tozak back to his goalkeeper. Bit of an errant ball there. I'm sure that's something that Richie Fagan would like to tidy up from his goalkeeper. And the Rovers coming away with it. Big tackle there by Clark Tozak again, and he had to be tidy. White into midfield, Zohar with the header down, and it's the Rovers in possession once again. 64th minute, Whitecaps 1, Rovers 0. Polisi hasn't had a whole lot of joy. Started up front, has been rotated around quite a bit. He's dropping back into these positions here to try to get involved, but has just not had a really good sight of goal. In fact, it's hard to pick out a chance where the Rovers really look like they might have been in, whereas the Whitecaps not just scored, but they forced a very good save out of Justin Sandu early in this game as they really split the Rovers wide open. And that's a good block. The League One BC featured match on TELUS Optic TV is presented by the Hall Group of Companies. Together we support League One BC, its players, coaches, referees, and communities. 2 Whitecaps players still waiting. Joel Damien is one of the 2 substitutes ready to come on. And I just wonder if maybe it's Luke Norman or Amir Gassemi that might come off. They've run all day long. Gassemi is watching Polisi here, and Polisi finding a little pocket of space, edge of the area. Edwardson back to Polisi, and that's cleared away by Velios, who was tucked well infield. And Matumbo's dropping almost there as a fullback. Jones. Richardson. Back heel to Richardson. That was blocked away, and the Whitecaps managed to snuffle it into midfield. And now maybe the break is on, and here comes Gassemi again. And caught by Zohar. Good defending and a free kick, and now you have to think that the Whitecaps are going to make this substitution. Finally, Chikansky sees the substitution, so Jovan Mann's the first one to make way. And he's had an effective game. Joel Damien coming in. And Nikos Clark Tozak is coming off. I think it's Ajabi who's coming on. Not 100% sure. Was it 98? Yeah, 98 is coming on for 81. And I thought Nikos Clark Tozak had an excellent outing as that left-sided defender. But now the Irishman is on, the 17-year-old David Ajabi. Polisi. Trying to affect the game from deep. 67th minute, Whitecaps continue to lead by that Michael Hennessy goal early in this one. And Polisi charging forward. He's got Richardson on the turn. Left-footed strike. Ben Alexander down. That was on target, but I think he'll be happy to take those all day long from well outside the box. And quickly splits the wave of pressure for First, the captain. First touch for Ajabi, but he lost out. And now it's Ivan Mejia. Eric Edwardson, nice give and go. Danger not over at the edge of the box. Edwardson brought down, no foul. Referee says all ball. Sagawa to the byline. Left-footed cutback, and again Ben Alexander unchallenged, and the referee will use that opportunity to see if the Whitecap player will require some treatment. It was First who took the knock there. But he looks to be okay. It definitely feels like the Rovers are the team pushing at the moment. And one of 2 things could happen there. They'll get the equalizer, maybe with time to go, or they may just leave a gap. And perhaps the Whitecaps can break. They have looked dangerous on the counter. In fact, their goal, it didn't come on a counter, but it was a very well-crafted build-up and finish. And it started from the goalkeeper, Alexander. Nice little flick, and the Whitecaps will win a free kick. So again, a chance to work on some of these set pieces that they spend an awful lot of time on. Will they commit men forwards at this stage, though, in the 69th minute? 21 or so minutes left to go. 3 quarters through the game. High and deep. The goalkeeper spilled it momentarily, and the danger wasn't over, but Richardson was there, and I think that should be a Rovers throw. Well, no, they're giving it to the Whitecaps. Mutombo will leave it for Velios. Subtle time wasting here by the Whitecaps, and you can't blame them. They have actually been under it a little bit in the last 10 minutes or so. Mutombo tries to play it all the way across. Zohar, that is calm and cool, back to his goalkeeper. Zohar almost looks like he's playing as a right back now. Certainly lots of flexibility in this Rover squad. There's been plenty of rotation, including this man, and especially this man potentially. They just want to get him on the ball and try to make something happen. McMillan. Mejia's short. Little give and go is heavy, and here comes First, and now here's the break opportunity. First, driving. Does he have support? It's a decent ball. Back into the danger area for First, who takes a tumble, no foul, and back into midfield again. And that was a chance. First was just down a moment ago, and he's picking himself up, the captain. On a yellow card, remember, and then that switch is straight into touch. But those are the moments. A little square ball in midfield that was picked off, and there was support, and I think it was Gassemi who was breaking down the left, and he was wide open if that pass came across. Edwardson, White, Smichenko, and the substitute, Ajabe. Good turn. That's also a good turn. And a lovely switch. Mutombo. 1v1 is the shout here. They want him to take on Sagawa. Left-footed ball, top of the area. Zohar away. Now Mejia with an outlet on the left-hand side as McMillan drives forward. Mejia against Velios. This is a good battle, and it has been for most of the afternoon. And that was charged down by Dylan Velios, and then into midfield from Luke Norman, who's helping out. And just straight into the air it goes. Norman couldn't win it. Handball appeals not given. Polisi. Sagawa. The temperature's rising on the field, that's for sure. 72 minutes. This is a big, big pivotal moment, I think, for both teams in the season, even though it's still early. The Rovers already have one loss under their belt, and they really don't think they can afford another, whereas the Whitecaps have but one win on the season. And just like last year when these two teams met here, it was a statement moment and a pivotal juncture in the season, and you feel the same thing could happen here. Edwardson. Through ball for Zohar, and that's just a little bit too heavy. And Mineta only too happy to watch that run off and out. Lots of keep going and come-ons. You might even hear them from our field cameras as the Rovers just try to stay engaged in this game, try to be patient enough for that one moment. And Ben Alexander straight into touch. Smichenko coming out of the back. Sagawa available on the right. Burrett switches direction. Sagawa. Mejia. Edwardson. Now Polisi. Can he conjure something up? Zohar. McMillan switching from side to side. He's all over the place since coming on. Hard to believe he's 29, Connor McMillan. Little back heel. There's been too many of those by the Rovers at the edge of the box. These little back heels, they're trying to pick somebody out in a very congested penalty area as the Whitecaps, very disciplined, dropping deep and making it hard to navigate. And then there's moments like this. Ajabi brought down. Free kick for the Whitecaps. A chance to get forward, a chance to, again, tick some time down. Ajabi was a Simcoe County Rover from the League One of Ontario. 17 years of age, and what a unit. And he is going to be a handful if picked out as a target here. And he'll head straight into the danger area. And let's see if the Whitecaps can pick him out, or at least a teammate, as White moves forward as well. Ball drifted towards the back post, and well done by Justin Sandu, who reached up and pulled it down. Edwardson got his head to it. That's good hold-up play, but they couldn't get the follow-up. And the ball holds up a little bit before Alexander just sends it into touch again. I'm surprised he didn't pick that up and slow things down. We're 15 minutes from time here at Ken Woods Field. A reminder, these Rovers featured on June 11th in our featured match as they host Altitude in the Ironworkers Memorial Derby, leg number 1. It was a great affair last year, both legs. It's not the closest derby in this league. That belongs to the Whitecaps and Notsamot, who literally play just off in the distance at Thunderbird Stadium. Almost a stone's throw. Nice take by Zohar. Good cut as well. Held off from the cross. Edwardson sends it high. It's into midfield, only as far as Sagawa. And good defending back from Ajabe. Mejia. McMillan. Sagawa wants it. McMillan carries on. It's blocked. McMillan into the danger area. Mejia was there, and it took a deflection, and it's a goal kick. Nervous moments for the home side in the final quarter of an hour. Another Whitecaps substitution imminent, and I think it could be a Sage veteran coming on here. Is that Patrick Isaac standing by, ready to come on? Who played with Rivers last season, but a seasoned campaigner brought in because of a steady head on older shoulders, and to see if he can perhaps see this one out. And it's Amir Gassemi, who's had an excellent game and certainly would be a candidate for the Gatorade performance of the match. Patrick Isaac, the 26-year-old from Delta, attended Seaquam, Thompson Rivers University, among some other stops in his collegiate career, and he's just moving straight up front. But I'm sure that he'll be asked to hold up. But if he gets a chance in a sighted goal, he has shown at times that he is certainly capable of scoring, and he might have just earned, well, that's going to be a free kick, as a little shove in the back, his first involvement. Zohar. The Whitecaps more than happy with this. Polisi again popping up, this time on the right-hand side. He is just all over the shop, trying to create, trying to draw white shirts, and then maybe open the park up a little bit. And that's some good pressure up front by Ajabe. And in fact, it earns the Whitecaps a throw, and that's good work from the 17-year-old who holds Irish citizenship. Also spent time at the Athlete Institute. I just don't know if Darren Rusher has any more cards up his sleeve here with his team looking for a goal. It's a long throw, straight up in the air from Smichenko. Mutombo with a push in the back. Now Polisi is pushed right up front. So he's pushing back, and let's see if he drops into a pocket with Sagawa on the ball. Mejia wants the switch. Isaac with the pressure up front. So Isaac, the 26-year-old, again, a couple of overagers in this Whitecaps team just to add a little bit of nous, if you will. And there was Isaac showing and winning possession, and now he'll keep possession as he has time to turn. Isaac will spread the play nicely. Mutombo. Nice 1v1 battle here with Sagawa. He had a moment just a few minutes ago. Picks out a teammate. Isaac is there. Isaac still going, and it just manages to get into the hands of Sandu. But the Whitecaps almost getting a sight of goal there. And at this stage of the game, I think it would be a tall, tall task to come from 2 down as we've reached the 80th minute. Whitecaps 1, Rovers 0. How big could this result be when August rolls around? Good turn. Hennessy, who's run all day long. Michael Hennessy, nice ball to Isaac. He's in shooting range, Isaac, and it's blocked beautifully. And then the Rovers recover. Beautifully worked by the Whitecaps between Hennessy and Isaac. Burrett. The front 3 of the Whitecaps very narrow at the moment, making it difficult for the Rovers to get around, and they shift just like here. And look at that hunting done there by Ajabe. And he does some more, but Polisi dropping back, wins that battle. Smichenko looking for a target, finds Zohar. Richardson. And the header won comfortably by White. Rovers get it back. Edwardson. And neatly away into midfield. Only as far as Sagawa, however. And that's picked off. And now again, can the Whitecaps break? There's room to run into. 2 in tow. And that's terrific work by the big man. And he keeps possession and plays in Norman. And here comes Hennessy, who's shifted over to that left-hand side now. He's got Isaac to pick out. Hennessy, the goal scorer, to the byline. Couldn't get around the corner, but wins a corner for the Caps here at minute number 82. And as you can see, very little to no urgency shown by the home side. 10 minutes away from what would be a very big win. Right-footed delivery from Hennessy. High into a cluster of players. White was there. Ball's bouncing around. Appeals for handball, half-hearted, and then into midfield it goes. And the Whitecaps deal with it. Joel Damian managed to get it into midfield, but it's the Rovers in possession again, and the clock will be racing for them, and it'll be dragging for the men in white. Mejia wanted that ball earlier from Sagawa. Burrett. Mejia. Polisi was running off his left shoulder. McMillan. Mejia. Sagawa venturing forward to try to stretch this field and make it wider, but it's Mejia there. Edwardson on the turn. Eric Edwardson. Ball couldn't get out to Zohar. The Rovers are about to make a change, but not before the Whitecaps break with Isaac. Patrick Isaac. Kept possession. Isaac still going, but a little too heavy into the goalkeeper. So the Rovers will have one more roll of the dice. It'll be Cian Proctor who's about to come on. Polisi. McMillan again. Connor McMillan. Polisi overlapping. He's made the run. He's on the end of this. Can pick out a target. Pops it up to the top of the box. Mejia! Half volley. One hopper. No problem for Alexander. Matumbo got away from Sagawa. Eyes it. Ajabi. He wants help, but, he's doing the right thing for his team here. He's doing exactly the right thing. He's keeping his side in possession and making the smart decision there. And with just over 5 minutes to go, the Rovers and Kian Proctor standing at the fourth officials table, and the Whitecaps can play this ball backwards and sideways all day long. But those are not the kind of balls that I think Rich Fagan will want his goalkeeper to play. And now it's a switch of play, and here's Ivan Mejia. Good first touch. Mejia looking at the goal to his right foot. That's blocked away. And then smashed into touch. And again, Ben Alexander with a drifting ball to nobody on that left-hand side. Gave possession away rather cheaply, and we've seen that a few times. Distribution will certainly be something that the club will be talking about after this one. In the meantime, Proctor continues to wait at the fourth officials table as the Rovers try to venture forward through Sagawa. McMillan. Jones. Back post. Alexander's up, and he's had so many of those today. Unchallenged. Easy to claim. And now, again, can tick the clock down. Manetta into touch. Now they'll make the substitution. And it's Ivan Mejia who's going to come out. Wow. And he hasn't seen his number get called yet. Now he has. He's going to head off behind the goal. But it always seemed as though he might be the one, as you saw just a moment ago, who can get into that penalty area and make something happen. But it's now Kian Proctor who's on, and the Whitecaps are about to make a change as well. They might wait till the next stoppage, though. And I think it's as much about sort of killing time as it is about fresh legs at this moment. Proctor. If I'm not mistaken, Dad Jerry and Mom Jill, excellent referees in the BC program. Jerry was highly touted, and I believe I have that story right. It's into the box, and it's away. Nice little touch. Hennessy. Dispossessed. Rovers through McMillan. Richardson felled, and a free kick opportunity. I'm not sure if they wanted the advantage or not, but this is a tasty location for a free kick. And no shortage of suitors for the Rovers in minute 87, directly down the middle. This is about 25 or so yards away. Who is going to take the responsibility? Polisi is there. The ball is being very carefully placed. And Eric Edwardson's the one who's been meticulous in the placement of this ball, and I think it's going to be Eric Edwardson all the way. It's a four-man wall, now five. But it's a tricky one for the goalkeeper. He will probably have to line up right in the middle of the goal. He's checking both posts here. Will Eric Edwardson go direct to goal? Or do the Rovers have something tricky up their sleeves? Sagawa is also a left-footed option here. And the referee is just going to make sure that Polisi stays out of the wall and that it's pushed back the 10 yards. This is a big moment in this game, and is it a big moment in the Rovers' quest to top the table and return to the Canadian Championships? Edwardson, right-footed all the way over the top. Did not test Ben Alexander. It was a good yard over. 89th minute now. Whitecaps can taste it. And here comes the substitution. Max Comcia will come on. And he's going to take off Michael Hennessy, who's had an excellent outing. Another player who certainly could be considered for the Gatorade performance of the match. The goal scorer, Michael Hennessy. Stepping aside, Max Comcia, the North Vancouver boy, 17 years of age. If the name sounds familiar, his brother Alex went through this very same Whitecaps program a number of years ago, probably, I'd say almost 10 years ago. I think it was 2014, so I don't know what they were serving for breakfast in that household, but certainly it worked, as here's McMillan. Edwardson's going to get on the end of this. He gets around the corner, is brought down. It's a free kick. It might be more than a free kick. It will be a booking, but another chance for the Rovers from a set piece to get this ball in the danger area. And there will be yet another substitution from the Whitecaps as they're all lining up at the fourth officials table here. Again, I'm not so sure if it's as much about the fresh legs as it is about just ticking the time down here as we're under a minute of the 90 to go. And everybody, except for 5 players and the goalkeeper, are in the box. Looks like Kyle Jones is the man who will send this one in. Zohar alone at the top of the box. Polisi also at the top of the box. It's crafted in. It's fisted by Alexander, but just for a corner. So the Whitecaps with more defending to do. And we're into the 90th minute now. We're just awaiting the fourth official, Michael Cacho's board to go up. How much time will be added? It's a critical number for the Rovers as they try to get back into this game, and now it's Polisi, right-footed in-swinger. Low to the near post, little flick back post, and stabbed off the side of the net. Oh my goodness, what a chance. What a chance for the Rovers to equalize, and it is a let-off for the Whitecaps. And now they can make the substitution. Benedict Florent is coming on. Luke Norman's the man coming off. Luke Norman's had another good outing here as well. So the Ottawa-born Benedict Florent on 5 added minutes. And that's confirmed. And here we go. It's a big, big 5 minutes for fans of both of these teams. Zohar. Richardson off his back. First, straight up and over our tent and almost into the scissor lift, which, by the way, has been manned by Beatrice and Sylvia this afternoon. They're way high up there. I think that's the highest we've had our scissor lifts at one of our featured matches this year, but the two in the booth up top have done an excellent job on camera today, as has Maddie Buckingham, our sideline reporter. And a big shout out to our entire Roll Focus crew for their work today. Nice ball through to McMillan. And a good sliding tacker before Kean Proctor could get there. Sagawa. Burrett. He's going to go long. It's too straight. It's too easy for Ben Alexander. Can Alexander pick out a target here? Eyes it on the chase. Smichenko is going to have to be perfect here as he sends it back to his goalkeeper. Driven ball forward, nicely done. Good head by White, and the pieces fall to Ajabe. Matumbo. Ajabe. This is good work by the man wearing 98 in white just to keep his team in possession. Might have been a high boot there, but it's off and out. It'll be a Whitecap throw. A little bit of the dark arts going on here for the Whitecaps. They may be young, but they're not dumb. They are ticking every last second off the clock. And here comes Isaac. He's in a shooting position. It's a nice ball across and maybe a chance for Damien. Damien! And denied by the goalkeeper for a corner. Otherwise, that was lights out. Well, they've had several chances to make it 2-0 in the second half. It's been a valiant effort by the young Whitecaps, and Patrick Isaac in no hurry, but you see how calm he was there to read the situation. Damien was coming up from the left side, picked him out beautifully, and goalkeeper Justin Sandu made one of probably a couple of very important saves here today, and the Whitecaps are just going to go short in the corner, and Isaac can get that sturdy frame of his on the ball, and the Whitecaps actually come away with it. Isaac again, really working Richardson, and it's a goal kick. Long left-footed ball, and Edwardson could not reel it in. Manetta, who's gone the distance here today, and he's put a shift in for the Whitecaps. Smikchenko only as far, though, as Ajabe, and he'll play it neatly back to Velios, who has some room. Polisi has to do some desperate chasing. That's a nice ball. Mutombo trying to get around the corner on Proctor. He'll take it to the corner. Again, this is wise from the Caps. And can he try to win a corner? He'll win a throw, and that will kill some more valuable seconds. This has been an extremely mature performance by the Whitecaps, who took the one chance that they had to in the early stages and are that close to topping the men's division in League One BC. Short throw, foul throw. The final whistle sounds, and it is redemption for the men in white, who overturned last year's 2-0 loss at home to these Rovers by winning through a Michael Hennessy goal in the early stages of this game and then hanging on. It's a final from Ken Woods Field. Whitecaps 1, TSS Rovers 0. We'll chat with our match hero in just a moment and review the highlights of this game. But through 95 minutes, it's a big, big result and somewhat of a crushing loss for the Rovers, who really circled this one on the calendar. It's their second loss already of the season, and there will not be a whole lot of wiggle room left for them as they try to campaign and take top spot in the division. And a reminder once again that our next featured match will be from Swangard Stadium, home of the Rovers, as they welcome Altitude. That'll be on June the 11th. We'll pause for a moment. The final score from Ken Woods Field. It's the Whitecaps 1, Rovers 0. Back in just a moment. Matty Buckingham is standing by with the man who earned a clean sheet, Ben Alexander.
Awesome. I'm here with our goaltender, Ben Alexander, for the Whitecaps. You look really easy today. What's your secret?
The big thing is just communication. A lot of talk. Such a tight-knit group that we have, so you can usually rely on the other guys to make my job easy, and that's what I do, talking throughout the game.
Absolutely. And what was the biggest takeaway from the game that you're going to carry through to the next one?
I think definitely there was a chip on our shoulder because TSS from Burnaby, it's a little rivalry. They came off a big game against Valor, so I think people might have wrote us off a little bit. People definitely think TSS are the people to beat, and we beat them, so definitely we've got a good chance to win this league and to not write us off.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much and enjoy your win.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Ben Alexander enjoying the clean sheet as the Whitecaps are winners and as of right now lead the men's division, because at halftime at Centennial Stadium it's the Highlanders 1 and Unity 1. Cody Geisbers has the goal for the Highlanders, so as it stands it will be the Whitecaps if that scoreline holds. And I know it's still only in the late stages of May, but we've seen in the past some of these games become pivotal. And on this day, it's the home side, the young Whitecaps who take all 3 points. Big thanks to our Roll Focus crew and for you for watching. The final score from Ken Woods Field. Whitecaps 1, TSS Rovers 0. You've been watching the League One featured match on TELUS and YouTube.